listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia Griffin. To master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Once you walked in a forest of splendor in which everything you did and everything you thought was aligned. It is possible at this time to begin to return to the old knowledge. Intuitive healer and manifestor Julia Griffin is here to talk about this unique time in history when all sentient beings, animals, plants, trees, and the earth are intent on creating this change. The wolves awakened her to the most incredible light, which opened gifts and brought knowledge that she longs to share. You are creators, and you are born to be creators of beauty, possibility, and joy. Join Julia on a journey into a beautiful and magical world where amazing possibilities exist. Let us help open the door. The Power of Inspiration and Awakening with Julia Griffin starts right now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julia Griffin, and you're listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with us for the next hour and let us help you experience a higher vibration, because that's where all the good things happen, and a new state of mind. For those of you who don't know me, I awakened with wolves. When I met a wolf, it talked the same way I'm talking now. I heard it that way. And they taught me to read the energy of the heart. And I can intuitively hear plants, animals, and people. I became an intuitive healer and writer as a result. And you can find me at trueself.com. We have a great book and a great guest today. This is Susan Browne. She's author of Your Angel Guides, How to Work with Celestial Energies to Create Abundance and Well-Being, which we all want. Susan Browne is a spiritual and well-being coach with over a decade of experience helping others connect with angels and raise their vibration. A teacher of the Diana Cooper School of White Light and qualified Guild of Energist trainer, she has developed her own intuitive style of tapping into the guidance of angels. The author of Angel EFT, Susan has a passion for nature, and she lives in Ireland. So, Susan, thank you for being here. I really enjoyed your book. And for those of you who are listening who want angelic guidance, I highly recommend it. It definitely lifted me up to a higher place. So let's see if we can do that for our audience. So can we begin with, how do you define angels for people who are not sure of that?
Angels come from source, or some people say God, but source, and they are like messengers of source. So they don't have free will like humans. They're literally here to help. And everyone has a guardian angel, whether or not they ever realize this or not. And the guardian angel always kind of whispers to you your highest divine blueprint, wants you to succeed, to be happy, to do well. They never judge you or roll their eyes if you're not doing a good job. And you can just tune into them anytime. And as soon as you start to think about, talk about, read about angels, you start attracting many, many angels to your side. And the way people connect with angels can be such a wide range. For me, it's often thoughts in my mind. It comes like claircognizance or clairsentience. Information just comes through like a channel. For other people, they might see angels. They might get a smell, like a beautiful aroma of incense or roses or something like that. But the angels will find the perfect way to connect with you personally.
I would say in my experience, and we're all different, but there's always a warm, safe feeling when I feel angels.
Absolutely, yeah, me too. So I know that is my angels guiding me when I get thoughts that come into my mind, you know, oh, I must do this, I should do this. And it has that exact feeling you're describing, a warmth, a connection, a kindness. You know, it's never alarm or anxiety or judgment or any of the lower things. It's never kind of tied up in ego. It just always feels very loving.
Yeah, it is. And I notice that my thoughts change pretty rapidly because you're going from your head to your heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're in your heart. When the angels are connecting with you, you've come into your heart. Because if we're stuck in our head, it's very hard for them to get the message across.
Yeah, because those are in the way of receiving anything good. But you talk about that in your chapter on ask and receive. Can we tell
Mm.
people how to do that?
Yeah, so asking, the whole premise of the book is turning challenges or turning our goals into questions. And we really need to ask the angels if we want them to step in. They can't just barge into our lives as much as they might wish to. They can't step in and help us unless we ask. So if you want the angels to come into your life or into a situation, you must ask them. And that doesn't have to be anything fancy, just in your mind, angels, please help me with this, is enough on its own. But you have to cross that little bridge of asking in the first place. But the book itself is inspired by powerful questions. So when I trained as a life coach, I learned about powerful questions, and that's the how can I, what can I, those questions that don't turn into cyclical thoughts like the why is this happening to me? Why can't I get this? Those are the powerless questions, if you like,
Right.
that send us off into a spiral that can be really disempowering. But the powerful questions, the ones that train our mind to problem solve and reach for the solution, can also be addressed to the angels. And when we do that, we're inviting in that higher help. We're giving them permission to step in through us and to help us to receive the answer.
So that's when we're going from our own, how can I put it, mental dialogue into a higher place.
Mm. Exactly, yeah. So that's asking a powerful question in the first place is really smart on its own because it engages your wise mind, if you like. It invites you to start reaching for the solution. But when you address it to the angels, you're getting two for the price of one because you're also asking yourself and you're sending the question up to the divine as well. So you're giving them permission and inviting them to step in. So immediately the angels can channel information through you when you do that. And that might look differently from person to person. For me, when I started writing the book, I started writing the book initially for myself because I thought I'm going to write this and I'm going to try it out and I'm going to use it as a reminder to myself to do these things. And then when I found out that it was incredibly powerful, I started thinking, well, maybe other people would really love to benefit from this too. But asking the questions, they told me first and foremost to get a notepad and pen, that I would channel better when I write stuff down. And for me, this was a challenge initially because I don't read my own writing very well. I have to be really disciplined if I'm handwriting. Otherwise, I'm reading it and going, what does that say? But I did it. I bought myself a notebook and I started asking those questions. And I've put a lot of those questions and the answers I channeled throughout the book to encourage people and share the answers that I got, as well as encouraging the reader, which is the big thing, to do this themselves and start asking the questions themselves. But then after a time, it wasn't really necessary for me to have the notebook anymore. I could just do this in my mind. And I'm sure readers will find that as well. And maybe you can do that straight away.
Right. And it's very gentle energy because you're not saying, do this, don't do that. You're telling people how to translate from one state of mind to another. And I was thinking when you said, when you begin to ask, you're really opening yourself up to a higher vibration. And when that happens, your emotions change, and emotions change thoughts, and thoughts change emotions. So that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, I find it very powerful as well. And I've always loved to help people to change their emotions. My background is I'm a mental health nurse. I'm not practicing anymore. I prefer to do my own work, but that was my background. I was working in acute psychiatric ward, and that's how I really learned to work with the angels in the first place, because I had to learn to manage my energy because I was so incredibly sensitive. And being around people with serious mental health problems was, I could just feel that right in my energy sphere. So I had to learn how to manage my energy. And that's when the angels stepped in and started to tell me about what I needed to do, to learn to manage my energy and to bring them into my life.
And you have something that I thought was really good about people who are negative, how we can pray for them, but we don't get dragged down by it because not everyone wants to get well, or maybe it's not their time to get well.
Yeah, Exactly, and people have the right to be miserable. I know that sounds cynical, like I'm being offhand, but I'm not. People have the right, to be in their current mindset. If somebody's in a victim mindset, or if somebody's going to be very negative, and is in this pattern of being very negative and attracting more and more negative experiences, it can be very difficult to be around somebody like that. But listeners might have somebody like that in their family, or somebody that they have to be in contact with day to day, maybe somebody they work with or someone they can't avoid meeting. And it's a great challenge for us when this happens, to learn how to manage our own energy and not get sucked in, or not be let our own vibration come down on account of somebody else. So it's a really good lesson, and a difficult one, I have to say.
It
It's
is
one
for
that you have to keep
empaths
up.
because we learn as children, like if your parents are fighting or having a bad day, if you give them a bunch of energy, they'll get in a better mood, then your life is better. And so you start to think that way. Whenever there's something difficult, oh, I'll just throw some energy at it. But it's working less and less now, I think.
Absolutely, yeah, because people can be like an endless, like pouring something into a well, and it never fills up. So these people can give out that signal unconsciously or otherwise to empaths, like you said, give me something, give me some of your positive energy, give me some light. But you can end up just pouring and pouring and not seeing any difference, because they don't really want to change, at that point. They may want to change in future, but you won't change their mind. They have to change that mindset themselves.
Because it really has to be like a holistic change. Because I was thinking when my parents were unhappy, but they said they wanted things, I would work so hard to make those things manifest for them. And half the time they weren't even interested in them when they got them. So that showed me really quickly that what people think they want may or may not be true.
Exactly. And when we're in a lower frequency, often what we're asking for isn't necessarily aligned with our highest blueprint, so it's not going to be for us long term. But that's really lovely what you said, about being like that as an empath. And it really resonates with me. And I bet loads of the listeners also are empaths and have had that experience of trying to pour light into their family, as youngsters, or trying to help out their parents or the people around them. Mm.
One thing that you say, you have an exercise of sending light and sending angels, and then you say take a step back, just let it do its thing or not.
Yeah, absolutely, because we can get caught in the trap of thinking, I have to fix this person and I have to see this through and make sure it's worked. And we have to relinquish our control, and do the thing, send the angels, send in the light, send in the team, and then release, because otherwise we form that cord, between us and that person, and we keep getting drained and sucked into their stuff, and we might, you know be trying to oversee the outcome too much. Well, what's happening now? Do they feel better yet? Are they behaving differently yet? And then we're lowering our frequency because we've got plugged into that, if you like.
And you have a really good exercise for cutting cords for people who are listening and want to get the book. Now, I'm going to skip now to a subject just because I think it would be very popular. Tell us a little bit about abundance and how to create
Yes.
abundance with the angels.
Yeah, so it's really exciting using the techniques from the book in terms of abundance, because again, it's all back to asking questions and asking powerful questions and bringing the angels in. So understanding first, I ask the reader to kind of get clear. What do they mean by abundance? What do they want? If they want more money, how much money do they want? What do they want to do with it? Why do they want it? What not to make them feel bad about asking for money, just being absolutely clear, and imagining, what that would be like if they had that money, or if they had that, whatever it is, abundance to them. Um, so first and foremost, getting clear. And if you're not clear, you can ask, angels, what do I need to do to get clear? Or think of more questions. All the time, it's like an experiment. You ask one question and it might lead on to another and then another. And it's like you're uncovering more information all the time. And it might be that you want to clear something from a past life, or something, but the angels will let you know if you keep asking. And again, it's not about an endless quest to find blocks and reasons why this hasn't come in. Definitely not. It's asking questions as well. What can I do today to attract this money in? What can I do today to support this branch of the project, because often we break things down, don't we? We say, well, this is the first step I need to take, and this is the next thing. So it's like a trail of questions, if you like, and just constantly plugging in and connecting with the joy of having that abundance already as well. I think that's incredibly powerful.
Now, I remember working once with the angels and not having much money, single mom, and my son and I both needed new shoes. And I heard to go to the store that I never went to. And they were going out of business. And I got 2 pairs of Nikes for like $5 a piece. I thought, okay, now I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's unreal. I remember going to, it was a few years ago, I went to a store with my son and I just wanted to demonstrate manifesting to him. And I'm going to find a lime green jumper pullover and it's going to cost 17.99. And he was like, Mum, you're nuts. Anyway, we went into the store and we were going around and I was looking and looking and I was thinking, oh, it has to be here. I know it's here. And we were
Hmm.
just about to leave and I found it and he saw me at the checkout and he's like, I just don't believe it. It's incredible. And asking the angels, if you go shopping and you need a certain thing, if you ask the angels to come in and help you, guide you, they will miraculously, point you in the right direction.
Well, Susan writes a lot about loving yourself and enjoying life. And little things like that really do make you enjoy your life because it feels magical.
Yeah, it's so true. And I love even the word magic because for me, it reminds me, I think, of childhood. There's something lovely. I'm maybe a big child myself, and I love the
Me
idea
too.
of yeah, bringing magic into every day. And it helps us to release the seriousness. And this is what was one of my guidances early on my angel journey. The angels used to show me. Images in my mind of them doing something funny. And I asked them after a while, why are you doing those funny things? And they said it's to make you laugh because you need to lighten up in order to see us and to sense us. And that made perfect sense because sometimes I was going around in my life being so tense and serious. And sometimes when people connect with the angels first, they can be a bit tense and serious because they're not sure whether they're doing it right or whether they deserve the angel's attention or all this sort of thing. So if you can try and bring in that magic and lightness and sense of childishness, even, the sense of wonder, it's really good energy. Magic is a part of that.
And it's very encouraging because it's fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it lightens up everything in life. If we can laugh more and relax more and play, and engage with magic and fun, then everything opens up.
I think I'm going to make a discernment about what you were talking about, how we learn about how we feel about money, because I think all the really good spiritual things are about learning about your inner self, the really perfect part of you. And so if you have a realization about how you feel about money, it's not like you've got to go through 50 bad memories. You just say, there's a little part of me that's blocking this. What would be
Mm,
a better state of consciousness for me to embody?
yeah. Exactly. Or angels, how can I lighten up about money today? Or how can I experience magic around money today? Ask those specific questions and just get more curious as you go and see
Or
what's
one
coming
that hit me this week was, what is the biggest magic I can do with money now? And so I'm
through.
curious about that.
Yeah, I
And I
love
think
that.
curiosity is fun too.
Absolutely. Yeah, curiosity is opening our mind. And when we open our mind, we open the doors to so many possibilities. If we're narrow and we think, well, this is the way things are, and da, 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 we're blocking ourselves from so many things coming in.
Yeah, and in this book, there are so many wonderful techniques to raise your vibration. And when you raise your vibration, you expand. When you lower your vibration, you contract.
Yeah.
And you seem to have the same opinion of the news that I do. I call it the National Negative Prayer Service. But I mean, do I want to be with millions of people looking at bad pictures with bad thoughts? No.
I know, exactly. Yeah, no, I avoid watching the news because of this reason as well. And I have a little piece about that in the book, that if you do watch the news, there's stuff you can do, you can send. I talk about the dragons, send the dragons, into kind of heavy areas or areas of conflict. And then again, detach yourself because the idea of the news is like this attention grabbing, designed to pull people's attention. Listen to me. And it's like it's always down, downbeat stuff.
I
And
always say the people who do the negative stuff know a whole lot more about how to manipulate people than I do because I have to study and work on myself to figure out what to do from a higher level.
that's very true. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, they know how to do commercials, they know how to do everything. For me, it's just little step after little step. And that's just probably how it is for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just little steps. We're just uncovering more each time. And it's
Well,
not
tell
that
us
I'm
about dragons, though. I found that very exciting. I've always dreamed about dragons.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I first learned about working with dragons in a spiritual way from Diana Cooper, and she has an amazing book and card oracle deck on dragons, and I highly recommend them. Um, but they work in a different way from the angels, but they're of the angelic realm, so you can work with them in very high frequencies, and they're very protective, and they can go to like deep dark places that the angels can't get to because they can go through different dimensions. So if there's a war and you want to send some good energy, send the dragons. They can go deep down into the earth and help clear the ley lines. That's what they're expert at doing, is clearing the ley lines on the planet. And also breathing fire. I've seen dragons eat stuff, like eating lower energies, ingesting them because they can then, transmute them into light. But they're very, very powerful, and I find them very exciting as well. And there's many different kinds of dragons. There's dragons for the different elements. So say if you want to raise your thoughts, you can ask the air dragons to come in and raise
Right.
your thoughts. Or if you want to transmute some lower energies, call in the fire dragons and they'll breathe fire over it all. And the water dragons are fantastic for helping us to manage emotions, but also flow around obstacles. I love the message of the water dragons of being in the flow, moving around things easily. And then the earth dragon's speciality is the ley lines and clearing the ley lines and working on those planetary energies.
I thought it was really good because it's a way to deal with other countries. I
Mm,
mean, we have
yeah.
enough going on here in the United States, but
Mhm.
I do have clients and I do get emails about things that are happening in other places that I probably wouldn't know about in depth otherwise. And so if I have clients there or people that I love, of course I'm going to send energy. But it sounds as if the dragons are an easier way to do it.
They are amazing and they work so quickly. Just a thought, dragons, please go to so and so or such and such. And you can visualize them, clearing the energies and supporting those people. I love working with Archangel Michael's deep blue dragons as well because they work with Archangel Michael's energy of protection and clearing. So you can send them to somewhere, to a place, send them around your home or send them into your computer or your devices. You can send them anywhere to give a good clearing and, imagine cutting the cords, that you want to release now and that sort of thing.
That's wonderful. And then what is the purpose of unicorns? We might as well do the fun parts.
Oh yeah, the unicorns, yeah, they work with so they help us with our soul journey. They're very, very like the angels, I find, the energy of them, but maybe a little bit more playful at times, but also mystical. Sometimes I see the unicorns, they're like these beautiful silver white horses with radiating, it's their third eye that looks like the horn. It's coming up like an energy point into a horn. And if you ask them to come into your space and pour their light over you, they literally point their horn at you and they clear your energy that way. And they're coming through the causal chakra as well, just above the head here. So when you start to work with the causal chakra, you naturally start to attune to unicorns. But they're another amazing friends to call in. Let me put it to you like that. And again, the magical energy that they bring.
It's almost time for us to go to break. So,
Okay.
everyone, I'm talking with Susan Browne about angels, how to access them, how to completely change your life, and how to stay in a higher vibration. So, stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. We're talking about angels today. The book we're discussing is Ask Your Angel Guides, and the author is Susan Browne. And she's giving us all this really interesting information on how we can connect and how we can change ourselves at the same time that we're changing our personal outer world. So, welcome back, Susan, and everyone stay with us for the next half hour. Learn how to use this in your life, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
So, Susan, is there anything that you would like to share? Or do you just want me to ask my long list of questions?
Yeah, you can ask me your next question, and if I think of something I want to share, I'll let you know.
Okay. So
Yeah.
sometimes people say they can't feel angels or they don't think anything is happening, which personally I find that true with all forms of manifestation. I'll always say, nothing's happening. What am I doing wrong? And then that's right before things do change. So how do you answer that question?
Yeah, I've heard that before as well. And sometimes it comes from a place of worry, or I don't like to say impatience, but um, where people, especially in a group situation or when you've got friends or people who are saying, "Oh my God, this happened," or "I saw this," or "I got this amazing windfall when I asked my angels," and there's somebody who hasn't experienced anything yet, and they're maybe starting to doubt themselves and think, well, there's something wrong with me or the way I'm doing it, or maybe the angels, they're not going to come to me, or it's usually a matter of time. And also getting yourself, raising your frequency really helps as well. Because when we're in those lower frequencies, it is harder for us to perceive our angels' messages. It's harder for us to notice the signs they might be leaving us. If we're in a frequency of 7 or above, we are absolutely attuned to those signs, the information that's coming to us. But if we're below 5, 4, 3, we're much more, I don't like to say closed-minded, but that's,
I'd
it's
say it's
hard for
tunnel
us to,
minded because you're
yeah,
focused on what's not working.
yeah, what I don't have and what everyone else but me has, I'm the only one that doesn't have. So that's, if you're in that state, if a listener is in that state, have compassion with yourself first and foremost, and work to bring yourself up. What I always say, think of bringing yourself up one place on the scale. So I have a vibrational scale that you can find on my website, angeleft.com, but also it's in the book. And it goes from 0 to 10. And it's a funny shape, almost like an egg timer. And
I
that's
did.
because, yeah, it's kind of skinny in the middle because at 5, we're really this kind of blah, like not neither here nor there. But we're in the very, very lower phases of the scale. Our energy can feel quite big, but in a negative way, in an unpleasant way. We might be incredibly sad or very angry or upset. But in the higher vibration, it's also widening out again into this big energy. And that's this lovely, really enjoyable energy that we're in, the sense of delight, love, magic, all of those things, abundance. Um, so support yourself to go up one place. What I ask people to ask themselves and put it to the angels as well is, angels, how can I move myself up one place on the scale? So if listeners want to rate themselves now out of 10 and just say, well, where do I feel my vibration is out of 10 now? And just note the number. And then if you're not already at 10, ask angels, how can I help myself to move up one place right now? And just note what thought comes into your mind, what inspiration. And usually something immediately comes to mind. Our own mind will start creating, but again, because we've invited the angels
One
in.
thing you said there were questions, like one was, how can I be less annoyed?
How can I be less annoyed? Yeah, I
Yeah.
have an example of a similar question in the book where I asked ask, how can I be less of something? And the angels literally asked me to try that one again. Because
Mhm.
as soon as we ask, how can I be less annoyed? The mind starts saying, oh, annoyed, annoyed, annoyed. And annoyed starts getting bigger because we're focusing on it. But if we start to think of the opposite of annoyed, what is the opposite of annoyed to you? It might be different to me or to listen.
Peaceful.
Peaceful, exactly. Angels, how do I feel more peaceful right now? Then our mind starts going in a different direction and our energy starts going in a different direction. And the angels start helping us to co-create ideas into how to feel more peaceful rather than thinking about being less annoyed or getting rid of something, because it's very hard for our minds, to think of getting rid of stuff.
It really is sometimes. I actually asked that question when I was reading. I got a loud answer. Think about something else.
I love it. Think about something else. Yeah. Yeah. Put your attention on something else. Yeah. It's like, how do I clear the mess? How do I make this place tidy? That feels more open already, doesn't it? It's like,
Yeah.
tidy. Yes, I like that. Well, let's
You
start.
talk a lot about how clutter affects manifestation. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yes, clutter is it's like energy blocks manifested around us. So if we have too much stuff or we have lots of mess or dusty things, um, it creates an energy block. And as empaths, a lot of empaths will feel that. If the room is like that day after day and it's our home, we might be conscious of it. But generally, if you walk into a clear space, you will feel the difference right away, won't you? So you go into a room that's clear and clean and tidy. It's very uplifting, like the energy feels, and you feel you've so much space and, you can be comfortable in your aura almost in those spaces. But yeah, when we have clutter, it has a deep effect on bringing our energy down. So it's really worth starting to work at clutter. And I think it's a big issue in the certain parts of the spiritual community. I think spiritually minded people, maybe more than non-spiritually minded people, can have clutter, because I've heard it from so many people that come to my workshops and talks. And certainly I've had clutter issues myself. But overcoming them is so incredibly freeing, and opens us up to abundance, opens us up to clarity of thought, to peace, to all those things that we're seeking. We no longer have that noise, of stuff that's kind of screaming at us.
I think
Yes.
sometimes I have clutter when I'm clearing a lot of people. It's almost like
Mm,
it creates clutter if I clear too many people.
right. And is that like clutter in your energy or in your space or both or what?
Both, I think,
Both, yeah.
because I
Yeah.
notice how quickly I can clean it up when I haven't been working for a couple days, and I'll think that's strange. I worked on this earlier this week. It took forever. I got
That's
stuck.
so interesting. That's so interesting.
So I'm going to
Um,
try your cord exercise for that.
Cutting the cords, yeah, and see if it
Hmm.
makes a difference with clutter. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
because cords in themselves are clutter, aren't they? Like when we have cords to people, it's another kind of clutter, and usually the outer reflects the inner. So if we've got,
exactly.
yeah, that energy clutter, it's going to also show up in our physical spaces. Makes
So in so
perfect
many ways, I feel that your book is a different way of looking at things. Like
sense.
when you have a problem, you want to rewrite the problem. Sometimes I'll say, what would it be like if? Because that makes me imagine the difference. Um, if something's stopping us, you have a whole lot of ways of dealing with it. And I think you even have a website page.
Yeah, I put a resources page because there were so many things I wanted to show readers when I was writing
Mhm.
the book. I was like, check out this blog. And I was like, oh my God, I just have to put them all on one page. So I hope it isn't too repetitive, but I just put them all in one place so people can go and dive a little deeper if they want to by looking into the resources. For example, there'd be meditations and things that they can access, and deeper insights.
Well, on another level, it's about finding different solutions with the imagination in the magical world.
Mm. It is, absolutely. It's like using our mind to its best ability. And it's not all about mind, it's it starts with the mind, asking the question, but then we're engaging our whole energy body as well as we do, and we're changing our frequency with our words, with our thoughts. So it ends up being a whole holistic movement, of looking at life in this different way and turning challenges into questions and directing them through our divine helpers.
Well, I think too, as we grow up, we're so taught to tap into the outer world to find answers, and there are not a lot of them there. Maybe you can
Mm.
find out a lot about how to take care of your car, but it's not going to change what's inside of you. Practical stuff is great. And then the other thing that no one ever mentions is that there is a lower mass consciousness. And if you
Mm.
get carried away with lower emotions, you get sucked down into that. When
Yeah,
you've got the opposite approach, which is let's go up and feel something different.
yeah, absolutely. I think we need to be very mindful of where we put our attention in terms of the collective consciousness and collective consciousness ideas, fearful ones, that are unhelpful, just disengaging, and taking your attention above that. And it's not about disconnecting from community or ignoring things that are happening in the world, because there's loads of samples in the book of how you can help for things like that, to send in help. But it's about not getting bogged down and not pulling yourself down or letting yourself being pulled down, because we're here at this most extraordinary time. The earth is changing, everything's changing for us, and part of that new wave of consciousness that's coming in is that ugly stuff is coming to the surface to be cleansed, to be cleared out. And it means that we're all being tested, and we're all being invited to take sides, to come into the lower judgment frequency, the us and them, the separation consciousness. So not even on a daily basis, but maybe even more than an hourly basis, we're being given these tests and choices. You get to choose. What am I going to choose, higher or lower? Okay, I just accidentally chose lower. So angels, how do I bring myself up again? It's picking ourselves up again
Right.
when if we do end up, falling into the trap, the booby traps that are, yeah, set before us. But we're considered very brave souls to be on the earth at this time, and to go to earth at all, because earth is like the ultimate
Yeah,
learning.
because no matter what you're doing, you're going to oscillate just because of how the energies are right now. You're going to go up and down. So what are you going to do with up and down?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as long as we're in this human body, we're going to be faced with that, aren't we? We're going to be faced with our emotions and the frequencies that are going around and the collective consciousness and stuff that we're being presented, that's being presented to us to test us and to say, hey, hang on, has she learnt her lesson on this? I'm going to show her again because I don't think she's learnt it. Let's try her again now in this slightly different way and see does she pass. So, with compassion for ourselves, we're just inviting ourselves to choose the higher thought each time.
Yeah, I noticed something because of working with someone a couple weeks ago, which is that for everyone, if you're doing just really well and someone does something that upsets you, it makes you want to get mad at them, which is hilarious because it just makes it worse. When what
Yeah,
you should be working with is your own upset feeling, because usually once you get back to feeling peaceful or being at a higher vibration, it changes.
yeah, absolutely. People will trigger us in so many
Hmm.
ways, and they may or may not mean us any harm. They may have just looked at us in a certain way that reminded
Hmm.
us of something awful when we were younger, and they may have not meant any harm at all, or they may have, been annoyed with us and done something to provoke us. But we have to remind ourselves, to to look at that and transmute it again each time, bring it
Hmm.
up.
I just thought, what a funny thing, but it's true.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
It's
Yeah.
also true that we don't have to stay there because I was talking to this person and I said, well, I know you'll have the answer as soon as you weren't upset. And he said, what would you say if I said I wanted to be upset for a little while? I said, I would say let's try something else on and see how that fits instead. And then he started laughing.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes some people do want to be upset for a while, and and then
Yeah,
that has run its course, then they're ready to, yeah, to move
listen.
out. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So it's just all very interesting. I really do like the thing that you're saying about a different way of helping other countries, because I think some of us feel called, but how much energy, how much light are you supposed to give that? It's far easier probably to have dragons and angels help, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, for all the want of the better word, it's like delegating,
Hmm.
um, angels, dragons, please go and help that situation. You can even help in a breath like that, or you can light a candle and do a lovely meditation and imagine, spending a few minutes or longer, sending light and dragons and all that help to a tricky situation, and then remembering to let it go at the end, and allow them to keep doing the work as long
I
as
think
needed.
another thing that you said is if you have negative feelings about a person, to write it down, burn it, and then create a different set of feelings.
Yeah, well, that's one way. Yeah, if you have very powerful, uncomfortable feelings about someone, one thing you can do is write that down and then destroy it, just to get it out, because sometimes in the spiritual communities as well, we can come across, this mantra that we must always be positive and we must always, deny kind of negative feelings, but
Mm.
denying them just makes them more strong and more subversive almost. They have to hide themselves because they're not being allowed. So sometimes we have strong feelings just to let them out. And I have this technique where I will do angel EFT, a little bit of tapping, and I tell people to do rant tapping, I call it, where they have a rant and they say all the things while they're tapping, and then they move into the positive. And angels help me to raise my frequency now, or how can I move into a higher thought around this now? When you've done that rant, when you've let it go,
Right.
and it could be to write it down or burn it, or yeah, anyway, just get it out.
And you say to be confident, but I think for me in the beginning of my spiritual work, it would take several tries of being successful for me to develop confidence.
Mm. So, yeah, for people who want to grow confidence, think of the questions that you could ask around that. So, angels, what could I do today to help grow my confidence? Angels, what else do I need to know around building confidence?
Well, I
Angels,
got
is
answers on that. Believe in
there,
yourself more, see yourself more fully. It just popped right in.
just pop right in. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
you're getting them really fast now, and they're coming in. So excellent. Yeah, it's a discovery. When you ask one question, sometimes you then think of another, what do I need to get more clarity around this? I can ask that.
Which is
And it's
fun.
action. Yeah, it is fun. Yeah, it's almost like stepping stones. As well, when we take the action, and the angels give us an idea. It might be go for a walk. Go for a walk. We need to go and go for the walk. Take the action as well. But it's usually, I always find I'm so motivated to do what comes in, because it feels light, it feels fun.
Well, I think we become more aware through our emotions and our physicality, or that's often how I read things intuitively, is by the feeling. And if you go outside and you feel wonderful, it's a lot easier to perceive intuitive leads.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. So that's coming back to frequency again. If somebody's in the lower frequency, just helping themselves to come up even one place. Because quite often when we ask to move up one place, we ask, how can I move myself up one place? The action that we take moves us up more than one. So we help us to come into those higher states again. So we're more open to the intuitive guidance that's coming through.
So, what are the projects that you're working on currently? Your book was a big project. You wrote a lot.
Oh yeah, I always have a few spinning plates. Um, but I have written another book as well that's coming out next year, which is about the angels as well. And it's Angel EFT, and it's an ascension journey through the 12 chakras. So I'm working on that one at the moment. Um,
Hmm.
Also, I'm big into creative writing. I write novels, but no news on them yet, but
Hmm.
hopefully that's to follow. But I teach creative writing as well. Today I was teaching a labyrinth and creative writing class, whereby we walked this beautiful labyrinth we have in our community garden, and the participants did some creative writing as well. So I like kind of a broad spectrum of things, and I'm very, very much connected to nature. And I am involved in a few community projects like planting trees and planting for pollinators, creating wildlife corridors and that sort of thing. So yeah, I have a few projects on the go, and I would say the angels run through all of those projects and help me with all of them.
No, I was just curious because I sort of could feel things that were going on around you.
Yeah, yeah, there's quite a few bits going on. Yeah, there's quite a few
And don't
creative
you
writing.
swim in the ocean when it's
Yes, I
cold?
do. Oh, it's
Tell
cold,
us
but
about that.
it, ah, well, I live on what they call the Wild Atlantic Way in Ireland, which is the west coast, well, mostly the west coast. It goes all the way around the Atlantic part. And there's a beautiful beach about 10 minutes drive away from here. And it's very, very popular around, people come from all over the country to this beautiful beach. And I love to go swimming there. And yes, it is really cold, but I play
Would
this
have to
game.
be really cold.
Yeah, it's really. I put it in the book, I think, as well. This
I read
game
it.
invented, yeah, with a friend, where you imagine you're going for the Hollywood part, and so you have to be like an actor, and you walk into the sea and you have to pretend that it's really warm, and you
Hmm.
can't squeal or you can't scream or you can't say, "Oh my God!" You have to just look, ah. And it really makes a difference, and it's really funny, hilarious because you're trying desperately hard not to scream out. But then when you get in the water, I think your body adapts quicker this way. And there's so much healing in the water. I just feel like there's so much spiritual energy in the ocean. And it's such a cleansing, it's a great place to go if you're having a rough day or if you're dealing with something difficult, or if you just want to experience immense joy. It's a gorgeous thing to do to get into the sea.
Well, besides the nature, I know that cold water gets rid of attachments from other people.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That makes perfect sense. Yeah.
yeah. So that's
Yeah.
one reason. But I think you're really brave to do that.
It's become a bit of a craze in Ireland, actually. It was around COVID, more and more people started getting into the ocean. And, before that, it was a bit controversial almost. It was like, people that do that, are they crazy or something because it's freezing? But then all of a sudden, it was like a cool thing to do. And people of all ages were just peeling off their clothes, well, and the swim gear on, and just going into the ocean, and it's quite something to see, the amount of people that do it now.
I wonder if the ocean was calling you because I know doing that increases your, immune system.
Yeah, yeah, it could have been definitely, because I do feel amazing when I go into the sea. It completely changes my energy.
But I mean,
Yeah.
what a perfect thing during COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. It was we're very blessed around here that we have lots of countryside and people were able to go on nice walks and things like that and get to the sea. But I think even when before I was aware of angels as such, when my oldest son, who's now nearly 25, was a baby, I remember being guided that um, he would he had like nappy rash or something, and I was guided to use seaweed to heal this, and I had no like medical awareness of that being a thing, but I got it and it worked. It healed his skin. So I feel the ocean talks to us, and has so much medicine to offer. Mm.
Okay, so we're coming to the end. What do you want to tell people about finding you or learning more from your website? You have quite a bit there.
Oh, yeah. So, well, the main thing I would say is get the book, ask your angel guides, and there's details in there about my website as well. And it's angeleft.com, the website. But you can find this in all places where books are sold. You can order this book. It comes out in the States on the 14th of October. and the rest of the world, it comes out in December, but it's possible to pre-order right now. And I really hope to hear from people and how they find it and their experiences with the angels.
It's a wonderful book, and I highly recommend that people purchase it. I think you would
Thank
really
you.
enjoy it. So thank you so much for being here with us, Susan.
Thank you, Julia.
If you want to get in touch with me, you can find me at onetrueself.com, onetrueself.com. You can sign up for my newsletter if you want more news from me. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening. I'm here, I'm here every 2 weeks. So come back in 2 weeks and find me. So take care, everyone. Namaste.
Thank you for listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia Griffin to master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Join us next time as Julia takes us deeper into the memory of the moments of light where transcendence and enlightenment emerge. The memory of the jewel of consciousness is always lived within you to tap into waves of energy and create huge changes by imagining the beauty of the vision and desires that are hidden in the heart. Learn to find your way back to nature, beauty, and your own heart, which holds the secrets of your existence and future. To discover more about Julia's adventures, animal communication, and the teachings she brings to every show, visit onetrueself.com. That's onetrueself.com. That's ONE, trueself.com.